Well, hello everybody. This is Bill Denton. I thought I would follow up the last video that I did on showing the basics of Lightroom Classic and Photoshop, how to edit photos. I thought it might be helpful just to take you through an edit with me on one of my photos. It's not necessarily a great photo, but it is one that is of interest to a lot of local photographers. I know a lot of folks that have shot this same picture or one very similar to it. This one, I happened to be walking by Loveless Drugstore in Ocean Springs. Early evening. It wasn't quite dark yet, but it was dark enough for lights to be on. And I got this shot. This is the unedited raw file. Shot with, I believe it was shot with a Nikon 750, D750 with a 24 to 120 zoom lens, Nikon lens. And we could hop over to the library for just a moment and I could tell you a little bit more. If we come down to the metadata, yeah, it was shot with the D750. It was shot, I take that back. I shot it with a 35mm lens. I forgot what I was doing over there that night. But it was 1/50th of a second at f7.1. So handheld, so there might be a little motion blur in it. I wouldn't doubt that at all. However, it came out looking pretty good as it is. But I thought this would be a good picture just to, you can go through it with me and just kind of see something of what I would do. I'm not necessarily saying that this is absolutely the way that I might edit this photo, but it's probably pretty close, and it will give you an idea of some of the things that I try to do as I work on my photos. So, as we talked about the other night, first thing we do, we go to the lens correction, and I see right there I need to reset this because it's already, there we go, that's the original shot right there. We go to the lens correction section, check on the chromatic aberration, we check enable profile corrections. That 35mm has a little bit of distortion in it, and so that fixes the distortion. We go to the transform tab, click auto. And that's a good example of how auto can help straighten your picture up and give you a little better perspective than what I shot it originally. And now we're into the basic tab. And here's where you just, you got to make some decisions as to what you want to do. Obviously, I want to try to get, at least at the beginning, get things into a little more balance. So this is pretty bright right here, where the light is coming out of the store window. So I'm just going to start out by reducing the highlights, bringing those down, and I think, wow, bringing them all the way down. I'm just going to bring them all the way down. That's pretty good. If I zoom in there now and look, I like the looks of that. Kind of tames the brightness of that light so we can see more of the detail. Then I might bring up the shadows just a little bit to right about there maybe. Then we do the white and black sliders, and this is the one where you want to hold down the Alt button on your computer and move that to the right a little bit, and you see we start to get a little color with the white. You want to back it off until it just disappears and let it go. And then we do the same thing with the black slider. Hold the Alt button down, slide it to the left, just begin to see some color show, and back it off until we just have just a tiny bit of that color showing right about there. So this picture is mostly dark. The brightest part is right here where the window light is. And you can see that up here in the histogram. The vast majority of this photo is tilted toward the darker side. Here are the highlights and the whites. There's very little information in there, but we haven't blown anything out, and to me that's the important thing. Neither have we crushed any of the blacks. There might be a spot or two over here near these trees or on that sign where it's pretty dark, but I think that will work. It's not going to hurt us a bit. Now, as I look at that picture, I gotta say, okay, what would I like to happen with this picture and with that brick wall, with the sidewalk, with the old dead leaves on the ground, the sign, the little bit of tree that we can see on the right? I think we're going to make use of a little texture. And here, you know, we don't want to overdo stuff. I tried to make that point the other night in our class. So I'm just going to raise that, maybe about to a +14. Add a little clarity to about a +16. Dehaze, you might say, well, it doesn't look like a picture you'd use dehaze on. Well, let's at least try it and see what happens. Well, we get a little more contrast, and I wouldn't put much in there. Maybe a +4, I think, is probably plenty. Do we need some vibrance? Well, faded old red on that Coca-Cola sign probably needs a little bit of help, so let's just increase the vibrance just slightly. Yeah, I think maybe a +11. We'll add a little touch of saturation. Then we're going to leave most of the color for the calibration slider. Let's move the blue and see what happens. Oh wow, it kind of really makes those colors jump, but I don't want it to jump quite that much, so I'm going to back that off to about a +21. I know there's some red in there, so I'll see what happens if we increase the red pixels. Not a whole lot, but it does a little, so we'll put that at about 19. And let's see if the green makes any difference. Yeah, I think it makes those yellows jump a little bit, so we'll add that a little bit, maybe a +23, somewhere along in there. And there we are. That's I think that works very well. Now, as far as the HSL, however, not much. I might go to the luminance section and just brighten up those reds just a little bit. I don't want to do it too much, but I think a little pop on those reds might not be a bad idea. And that's about all I would do there. I might move the blue just a little bit. It makes the white part of that sign, believe it or not, has a lot of blue in it. Pop just a little. Then we're down to the tone curve. Honestly, I wouldn't do a thing with the tone curve on that one. And the detail. Sharpen. Okay, I'm going to sharpen this one at about +90 or so. And then I'm going to hold the Alt button down again and slide the masking slider over to the right. I don't want everything in this picture sharp. I just want lines and stuff sharpened for the most part. So I'm going to move that slider all the way up to about 95. Let it go, and there's our sharpening. It means all the edges of those bricks, the lines on the sign, the lines on the sidewalk, all of those will be sharpened, and everything in between will not be sharpened, and that's how you manage that. Noise correction. Well, let's see. We zoom in on a dark spot. We can see there is some noise in this picture. I forgot what I shot it at. Let's go back over here to the metadata. I shot this at ISO 3200, so no wonder there's a little bit of noise in this photo. So we would take the luminance slider now and move it to the right just a little bit, just very kind of slowly, and you can see it begins to eliminate that noise. I'm not all that picky about noise, so a little noise doesn't bother me. I'm only going to move that up to about a plus 19. I may come down here and move the color slider a little bit. I don't see it having too much of an effect. That's probably pretty good right in there. And that's handled our noise problem. So that's where we are. I would leave all that alone. Color grading, I'm not going to do any color grading on this photo, and effects, no vignette right now. I'm going to save that for something else that I will show you. But if I was just doing, some basic editing on a photo, I could leave that one alone and be perfectly happy with it. The only other thing I might do is I might come up here to the crop tool and put this on a 16 by 19 crop. And let's see where I might want that crop to fall. I'm kind of liking that. That way I can get that little edge of that upstairs window on the upper left, get it out of the way. There's really nothing down here that we're losing. I think that's pretty good. So I'll just click close, and that applies the crop to this image. And I kind of like that. That looks fine as far as I'm concerned. Okay, like I said, we could be done at this point. However, let me show you just one or two other things that you could do to this photo to maybe spice it up just a little bit. We're going to go up here to this masking tool, and I'm going to choose a radial gradient. And I want to enhance the sign a little bit. So I'm just going to draw an oval kind of shape and move it and set it so that it covers most of that sign right there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up the shadows, because that will make the dark blue in that sign a little bit lighter. I might bring up the saturation, because that yellow and blue in the sign is definitely faded. So I'll bring that up just a little bit. I might increase the highlights as well. Make the sign stand out just a bit more. And I might add a little clarity to that sign. And I think I'm going to stop right there with all of that. I also might take another, I'm going to come up here to create a new mask. And I want to do another radial gradient. In this case, I want to put it over the side of the building where this painted sign is, and see if we can do a little bit of something with that. Once again, I want to add a little contrast to this. I want to up the highlights just slightly. I want to bring down the shadows, and I want to add a little more texture to that sign. That'll really, and maybe a little, let's see what dehaze does to the sign. And I don't like dehaze. You can double click on that and set it back to 0. I might add a little clarity. Let's see what clarity does. Yeah, I like that. just a little bit of clarity. And I think we're probably done, so I will close that feature, close all those outs. And now I really like this picture. Pretty good shot, and we brought out some light, some detail. It's just an enjoyable sight as we walk down the street in Ocean Springs, come across this store. But let's take it over to Photoshop, and I will introduce you to another tool. And if this is something that catches your attention, you might want to look into obtaining it for your own use. This is some tools by a fellow named Tony Kuiper, K-U-Y-P-E-R. A whole lot of stuff. He can teach you how to do some amazing things with luminosity masking and a bunch of fancy stuff. But he's also got a really handy little toolbar thing. Let me close my actions. This little toolbar is really handy. It's got a bunch of shortcuts on here that I just find really useful. For example, to duplicate the background layer, you just come here, click that button, and now we have the background layer duplicated. If you want to bring this photo up to a size that pretty much fills your screen, you can just click a button there. If you wanted to go 100%, you can click this button here. If you want to go back, you click that first button again. I mean, it's just handy stuff. You can individualize some of these buttons and make them do whatever it is you want it to do. But let me show you one that I find really fun. I'm going to get the lasso tool up here. And with the lasso tool, I'm going to draw around this image. Something kind of like that. And then if I click here, he's got another set of stuff that you can use. And this was a freehand vignette. And basically, it's going to take the selection that I just made with the lasso tool, and that's going to become the free-handed border of my vignette. So just going to click on it and just say OK to the basic stuff. And now a freehand vignette has been applied to this photo, and I think it works very well. And here's what's interesting about it. If you want, from an artistic point of view, if you wanted a darker vignette, you can mess around with the with this little curves thing here and darken it if you want to. Or sometimes what I find handy is go back here and just duplicate the same layer. And now it really begins to look dramatic. You can even duplicate it again, and now it's really looking dramatic. And you can put all of these in a group, for example, and now you can adjust the opacity of that group of 3 vignettes that I just made until you can get it just like you want it. And I really like that. So I would flatten all of that, go to File, hit Save, and it saves it back into Lightroom. Flip back over to Lightroom, and here we are. And there is our newly edited picture out of Photoshop. So this is what we had prior to sending it to Photoshop. And this is what we got when we came out of Photoshop. It's one way of editing that picture. Not saying that this is how you should edit it. I just want to show you how I might take the original photo and work on it a little bit until I can produce something that really matches what I saw in my mind's eye as I walked down the street one evening in Ocean Springs and came across Loveless Drugstore. Fantastic stuff, and so I encourage you to give this stuff a try. Get it there. You know, the best thing you can do really with your pictures is get in there and just play with them. The best way that you will ever learn what the tools, various tools do, is you get in there and play with them on your own pictures, and you will be happily surprised, I believe, at what you can do. So, thanks a lot for being with me. Quick and easy. Come back some other time, and I'll put some more photos on here and give you just a brief tutorial and show you what I might do with them. Hopefully to inspire your own imagination so that you can do your own artistic work with your own photos. Have fun with it and produce some really good looking stuff at the same time. See you later.